Flashlight. I know this. No problem.
I would have actually invested here. One of the first chamber, this one, had a door open to broken. Because it was believed that the aggressive men demanding slaves were kept inside this chamber and removed. So from the second to the third chamber, they had nothing separating them. But kept inside this chamber was not step in and out of the chamber. Because inside the chamber you were in chains and in shackles. Please take these things before you. You are welcome. Any questions, please? Okay. He's asking if both men and women were kept inside this place. No. I mentioned this place is the male exclusively for the men alone. They had 5 chambers for the men, so 1,000 men, 200 men were kept inside the chamber. They had a separate dungeon for the women, 100 meters from this one, and we are going to see that first. Please let me. And the lights are out. But this was how the dungeon was. When the tree goes to the shower is one person.
Watch your step. You got it?
Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
All right. Over here we have the third chamber of the male slave dungeon, where we just crossed, being the second chamber. Just like the first chamber, 200 men occupy this chamber. Source of light and ventilation, the tiny holes we see up there. Now this hole we see over here was in front of a church. So right above this chamber they built a church. Society for the Propagation of the Gospel, SPG. Now the Anglican Church or the Church of England. So as they were moving inside to worship, they could hear the screams and cries of the slaves, the smell, everything going on down here, yet they worshipped above them. So love your neighbor as yourself was preached above this chamber. But where were their neighbors then? Down here, in pain, suffering, yearning for their freedom, dying, yet they worshipped above them comfortably, claiming Africans were descendants of cursed characters or sinners in the Bible. So they saw no problem with them worshiping above them. Please let's go. All right. So over here we have the fifth and final chamber of the male slave dungeon. And as we all can see, inside this chamber there are no artificial lights. But this place is much more brighter than the rest of the 4 chambers. That is because once the ship finally came to take the slaves to the various plantations or farms, this is where the final selection or sorting out was done, where weak ones were separated from the strong ones. Weak ones among the men were kept into that tiny chamber to meet their fate because they saw them to be burdened, taking the strong ones because they wanted strong men or people to work on their plantations. And the men had to journey through an underground tunnel that connected this chamber to the door of no return. They had the entrance to the tunnel over here. So once the ship came, the men would start the movement or the journey from this chamber, walk through that underground tunnel, 70 meters walk underground to the door of no return. But this tunnel was blocked in the year 1834 by Captain George McLean to signify an end to the slave trade. The trade was officially abolished in the year 1807, but even after that, they were still trading them illegally through this underground tunnel. So in the year 1834, Captain George McLean was commanded to seal the tunnel. So if this place was an entrance to that tunnel, it means the shrine wasn't here then, right?
Yeah.
So why do we have the shrine here now? Before the British came, the Africans here were worshipping a god or a deity called Nanatabri. And this god is believed to be the leader of the 77 gods they have in this land. And it's in the form of a rock, a very big one for that matter, that covered this whole area. But then when they came, they saw this place to be a strategic area, and they wanted a solid foundation for their castle. So chose this place, the rocky area, got permission from the chiefs then, and built this castle on the rock, the god of the people. But then the Africans who still believed in their traditional form of worship took smaller portions of the rocks into their homes to continue. So in the year 1973, the council of chiefs over here all came together as one, brought pieces of the rocks they took there over here, mounted the shrine for their god to reclaim their god, because they believed this was where the god was located before everything began. So there is a portion of the rock they took there, another portion of the rock up there. This man here is a priest. He is in charge of the shrine. The stools we see there are for the traditional worshippers. So anytime they come here, they sit and talk to him, and he will talk to the god on their behalf. The money we see on the rock, some are offertory from the traditional worshippers anytime they come here. Some are also tokens from tourists, those who believe in the traditional form of worship. And the rates we see here are brought in by tourists like yourselves. They bring them here to show their respect to their ancestors and the slaves that were kept in here, and to mourn those that died in here as well. They believe that even though when they died, they were not buried over here but thrown into the sea, their spirit still remains over here. That is why they bring this street here, to show them respect and to mourn them as well. Please, any questions before we proceed? You are welcome.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick synopsis, what area was this? Right here we're in. That's all I want to know. We're late, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Oh, it's okay.
Yes.
All right. So over here we have the male slave dungeon, where the men, the slaves, were kept to wait for the ship to come for them. They had 5 chambers that accommodated them, this being the 5th and final chamber. Each chamber held 200 men. So the 5 chambers put together, thousands over here, most of them died. But once you die, they just bag you into sacks and threw you into the sea. So what we are actually standing on are all solidified waste of the men kept in here. Their poo-poo, urine, food particles, sweat, blood, vomit, human flesh, plus sand, all mixed together, solidified to form what we have over here. Now, the men had an entrance to an underground tunnel over here, 70 meters walk underground, that connected this chamber to the door of no return. So once the ship came for them, the men would start the movement from this place, walk through that underground tunnel to the door of no return. But this tunnel was blocked in the year 1834 by Captain George McLean to signify